Ooh, what's up YouTube? ODST General back again with another Operation Trebuchet news video. Today guys, we are going to be doing a mod showcase for the TCF mod, the Carver Findings. It's been a while since I've done one of these mod showcases, and the reason for that is that it was a lot of work taking these units and placing them out and putting them everywhere with the previous mods I've done this for, and I didn't really have a whole lot of time and energy to do that when I was doing these videos. And so I just ended up falling further and further behind until I quit doing them. So we only did like 2 or 3 of these videos with these showcases for some of the bigger mods out there. There is a lot of cool mods, and you know, with the Carver Findings baseplate, the mod creator reached out to me. He's like, hey, would you like me to throw this into a showcase and you can cover it? And I was like, sure, that's the hard part of it. So yeah, if you want to throw the stuff out there, absolutely. So he went and did just that, and he actually even went a step further and actually labeled everything for me. So that was really awesome. So let's go ahead and check out the Carver Findings. So if you're not familiar with the Carver Findings, this mod is not intended as a replacement to OpCan and Fireteam Zulu. In fact, it's intended to bolster mods like that. So it uses assets, and we'll have some of those mods that are required to actually run this when you go and look at it. But basically, it takes the units and factions from that and default op tray and stuff, and it actually turns them into factions. So you have all these standalone units between those different mods and like different pieces of armor and stuff that don't really get utilized into factions. And so the Carver Findings just basically turns that into factions that are easily spawnable as groups and units and stuff like that. So we've got, starting us off, the Aerodanis Rebels. And, you know, these are kind of like the first rebels that we had in Operation Trebuchet. These are like the really ragtag guys. They do use, you know, Halo weapons. You've got, like, obviously the M45 shotgun, the Savine Arms pistols, you know, the SAS-10, all that stuff. You've got a bunch of default armor vehicles with the URF logo, which is pretty cool. Then we have the Freedens, who are the fascists from the Halo universe. These are the guys from prior, basically, to Halo. Most people know, but these were part of a big basically World War III. And these are kind of the fascist guys. Now, the only issue I really take with the Freeden design is that the Freedens have this fist here. And it's basically the same as the ORF logo. And as far as I recall, and if I'm recollecting the lore correctly here, the Kosloviks and the Freedens fought each other, and they basically used the same emblem, which is kind of funny. But anyways, yeah, pretty cool faction. You know, you've got your leadership here for them, which is pretty fancy looking armor. But then you've got, you know, your winter patterns. You've got your woodlands, your desert, your autumn, and your regulars. And, you know, these guys definitely look like they're inspired by German forces. This looks pretty much like the Flecterian camouflage and stuff. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly. I always questioned if I pronounced that correctly. I've been saying it like that for years and no one stopped me, so who knows. Anyways, then we've got the Kosloviks, and so we've got their leader here, and then we've got all of these guys, and of course these guys are inspired by Russian military forces. And both factions using a combination of default armor weapons as well as op tray and stuff like that. You can see that, you know, the default armor weapons are pretty much all, I believe, OpCan retextures. I'm not sure if any of these are just standard armor weapons straight out, but pretty neat nonetheless. And of course, they've got all their vehicles, and using a selection of standard armor vehicles, and of course the vehicles are also largely Russian-influenced vehicles. And then we've got the same faction here with the Kosloviks with a Martian texture pack, which is pretty interesting. Very orange. Very orange. It's very odd to see, but at the same time, I mean, you know, Mars was a big part of their campaign, I do believe, so that makes sense. It's pretty cool to see. And we've got a winter/urbanized camouflage set, so you got your whites and your blacks or dark grays, and then the same vehicle set with an updated texture. And we've got the Secessionist Union, which is pretty cool. These are basically the Halo Wars units that we see, and they definitely stand out. Not their armor is pretty unique looking, but not nearly as unique looking as the camouflage pattern for their vehicles. I'm kind of curious what sort of environment they're fighting in that this would seem like a good camouflage. It's definitely unique camouflage, but it doesn't seem like the best actual camo. Then anyways, we got the United Rebel Army, which is of course a little bit more of a organized military than, like, say, the URF counterparts down near the end. And these guys have, custom helmets from OpCan. They've got pretty much all Optray weapons, I think. They've got the SRMs and stuff like that. They're using a combination of default Arma weaponry and vehicles. Now we've got winter variants. I really like this Scorpion tank. And that Falcon. Those are both really cool. And then we've got the urban and their desert variants as well. Moving down here, we've got the Ura Battle Jumpers. These guys aren't like the Gal Battle Jumpers. These are more of a general battle jumper concept. These are using custom assets, once again, from OpCan, and turning it into a faction, because these things weren't part of a faction previously, if I recall correctly. It's been a while since I've looked at it, though. And then we've got a couple of Scorpion tanks that are retextured over here, a couple of Sun Devils. And man, these things really pop. I gotta say, like, you look at them from a distance and these things stand out with those big red stripes on it. But it's really cool, despite how painfully that sticks out. It does look really cool. It is really striking, and it really grabs your attention. So, not necessarily the best thing as a military asset. You don't necessarily want to grab a lot of attention, but as somebody looking at it now, I think it's really neat. Then we've got the Sedron Guard as an independent faction, and these guys are, again, pretty much using all Arma default weapons with, OpCan retextures in a lot of cases, but you've got, like, the P90s and, just a lot of different weapons that these guys are using. Of course, they're using OpCan armors and stuff like that, too. Then swinging down here, we've got the Wasteland Rats, and these guys don't have any vehicles or anything like that either, but not quite ragtag, but definitely feel pretty ragtag in comparison to, say, the Sedrons or the Koslovics or the Freedons or somebody. They are not using military helmets or anything, but they all do have a set uniform and armor and everything, so they're not completely ragtag, but they do kind of feel like it, especially with a name like Wasteland Rats. Then we've got the Vanessa Militia, which, to be honest with the Vanessa Militia, I feel like this is maybe a little too ragtag or a private military group looking. I feel like with the Vanessa Militia, it should look a little bit more uniform. But as far as the faction goes, if this is like supposed to be just like a private military organization, they definitely feel like they nailed it with these guys. Pretty cool looking group. Nothing too crazy there. Again, combination of vanilla armor weapons and Optray weapons in unison. And then we've got the Colonial Military Authority here, and so these guys are using, again, the same combination of weapons and vehicles. So you've got a couple different Pelicans and Falcons and helicopters and stuff. You've got the Meerkats, as they're called. And then I believe this is our last actual faction, which is the Colonial Peace Corps. I feel, is there one other faction? There might be another faction. There's a couple other factions back there I forgot about. But we've got the Colonial Peace Corps, which is, of course, a group and design that was created for OpCan, and pretty popular group, all using UNSC weaponry. Really cool looking. I definitely dig these guys with the kind of UN look, but they don't have the association of being actual part of the UN. So this is probably, for a lot of people, this might be one of the coolest things in this mod, which is the saw. And the saw is actually unique to this mod, in a sense. There is one other mod that has the saw from Halo, but this is not using the same model. This is a completely different model, and from what I understand, this was actually donated, basically, to the Carver findings. I don't know if we'll see this model go into any other mods or anything down the road, but for right now, yeah. This is a pretty detailed model. Not a huge fan of the saw, but it is, again, nice to have Halo weapons, and I definitely dig that. So on top of the saw, we also have the Sentinel Site, which I do believe was originally created for OpCan. And we've got a number of retextures and stuff like that, and so it kind of tells us down here, you see the weapon name and what it is. So the MA39S was a reconfigure. The IA-7 carbine was a retexture with a black Sentinel Site up on the top. Recon holographic sight with a TK-78 reconfigured and retextured. It's an AK with a straight magazine, as it says. Just keep going like this here, at least for a second. So then we've got the M2311s, and these are some pistols from Opcan, which is kind of nice to see these things being used on infantry and stuff. And retextured launcher system there. And then the M247H work in progress was added into this. Now, if I go up here, you guys can actually see I've got it searched. Don't went to the wrong thing. This is just for comparison so you guys can see it. This is the... Actually, we'll use this one here. This is the default from Operation Trebuchet. I'm guessing this is the one from... this is the one from OpTrib, which is also the same one that I believe is shared in Fireteam Zulu, but it's modified slightly. So just so you guys get basically a comparison, and then this one here is the original one from Opcan, I do believe. So you can definitely see some pretty big model differences, even though it's supposed to be the same weapon system. You can see there's stuff on there that's very similar, but also a lot of different approaches. The shield's completely different, a lot more square. So definitely, I suspect I wouldn't be surprised if some people preferred this one, because this is kind of like a combination of like the Halo 3 turret combined with the Halo Reach style of turret. Now we've got the retextured radio backpacks, the Halo 3 style radio backpacks, which is really cool. And then we get to see more equipment, which, you know, just a bunch of different hats and tops that were basically modified for this here. Nothing super crazy there. Then we've got Zeus Groups. So these are Zeus spawnable civilian groups. So you've got rural groups, formal groups, casual groups. Now, I don't know. There's numbers next to these guys. I don't know what these numbers mean. I don't understand the context of these. These groups have a bunch of people spawned in on the same spot, so I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like these are just like randomly generated groups, or if this is the whole group here. I don't understand what is going on there, and there's actually more stacked on top of that guy too, so I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, you got rural groups, formal groups, and casual groups, which is kind of interesting. And then the other work in progress factions that Baseplate's working on here. So we've got the Interplanetary War UNSC, early era. So for the Interplanetary Wars, you know, this is early space and stuff, and so you've got basically future US Marines, but they're using Opcan retextured weapons with attachments from, you know, Opcan and stuff. So you've got the eyepiece and the up armored pieces and stuff on the helmets, the ODST sights and visors and stuff like that. So, you know, just futuristic looking infantry. UNSC uniforms underneath modern ballistic vests and stuff. The Disgraced Guard, which I guess is supposed to be like maybe an offshoot of the Sedron Guard. And the Harvest Colonial Militia, who is sporting a fairly unique UNSC look. And that is the Carver findings as it currently stands. Of course, it is still in development. A lot of this stuff will continue to change and upgrade and adapt as it goes on. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't have anything else to show with it for tonight right now. So other than that, guys, take it easy. I'll see you all in the next one.